initiatives that are within the business support ecosystem. So again, a welcome to everybody here. If you're not already engaged with your council, I do recommend it. There are lots of support out there, and the council is a really good place to go to. So if you're not already engaged with your local council, please do so. But look forward to this event and hope you enjoy. Thanks, Pip.
Thank you. Welcome everybody. Oh, let me just admit that other person. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me this morning, where we are going to be covering, as basically the presentation says, my top 10 tips for small businesses on Instagram right now. Now, there are clearly far more than 10 top tips I can give you for Instagram, and actually narrowing it down was really difficult. So what I actually did to help me narrow it down was I asked the small businesses that follow me what pieces of advice they've received that have actually been the best things that they've ever heard. So they helped, small businesses out there that follow me on Instagram helped shape some of the tips that I thought really ought to go in here. So these are kind of my tips, and also kind of businesses that said, you know, this is the thing that has really helped me too, because otherwise I was really struggling to narrow my list down. The way we'll run this session is I will do a lot of talking. Hopefully I won't bore you to tears, because there'll be lots of information for you to take on board. What I will do is I will, at the end, there's going to be a sort of a Q and answer session. So you can put your questions in chat, but actually generally, because I'm sharing the screen, I can't see them very well. So what I would rather do is answer them all at the end, if I'm honest. And what I'll do is I'll stop completely sharing the screen and I'll get you to wave at me and just I'll say, like, ask a question and then I'll answer it. If you don't want to appear on camera and you don't want to ask it, then feel free at the end to sort of put it on chat. I can't guarantee that I'll get through all of them, but I will absolutely do my very best to. And if I don't get through your question, please feel free to DM me on Instagram with it, and I will definitely get back to you there. If you're not already following me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is there at the bottom of this presentation at Social Pip. Okay, so hopefully you can all see this screen. Give me a frantic wave right now if you can't. Give me a thumbs up if you can. I'm just going to go through and check. Right, lots of thumbs, nobody frantically waving. Excellent. Okay, great. So let's kick off. Now, some of these tips, you're going to go like, that's so simple, like this one potentially for most of you, but there are still a hefty number of small businesses running Instagram without a business account. So my first piece of advice is to make sure that if you are trying to run a business and present yourself as a business on Instagram, that you actually have a business account and not a personal account. It's a really basic point, but I had a conversation just last week with somebody who'd been on there for years and they were not a business account. And the reason that I say this is, first of all, it will make you public, but really if you're a business, you want to be public, you don't want to be a private account. It will give you extra contact buttons. So the ones that are available to all people once you change to a business profile are extra contact buttons such as email, phone number, and if you're a physical location, you can actually put your address in so people can tap on a map to find you. Also, you are given access to other contact buttons such as what we call action buttons, so things like reserve, book now, and order food, which may be applicable to some of you out there. You can only access those particular action buttons if your booking system or your reserve food system, if you like, is on Instagram's approved list. That is the only kind of barrier that you have there. But the most important thing, regardless of whether people might want to book food or whatever through you, or if if they can't do that, but the most important reason for being a business account on Instagram is the insights that Instagram gives you. And these are improving all the time. Just in the last month and a half, Instagram has rolled out to most, not all, because that's the nature of Instagram. Some people get things that others don't. But for most people now, they have a really detailed analytics section, which can take you back to 90 plus days. I think for most of us, it's 90. That gives you breakdowns on what content drove reach and what content drove engagement and where that engagement has come from in terms of gender split, age range, and location too. So the insights are improving all the time. If you're on a personal account, you get none of that. And then obviously the other bonus of being a business account is that you can create ads, which you can't do on a personal account. So if you're sat there thinking, am I a business account? I'm not really sure. Or you're thinking, I'm a personal account and I need to swap. This is how you do it. So you go to your profile, you tap what I call the hamburger menu, which is the top 3 lines on your profile. You select settings and then you would choose account and you get the left-hand screen. And at the bottom, it will tell you to switch to a professional account. You'll go through the stages and prompts, and then it will ask you to choose whether to be a creator account or a business account. Now, if you choose a business account, that's the right one really for you if you're running a business. I will be really open and honest here and say that actually you will probably have access to the royalty-free music only, which you might want to use more popular music in your reels, for example, or your stories. Now, in theory, if you are a business, you should choose a business account. And if you are a business, you shouldn't have access to all the popular music, because you shouldn't be able to make financial gains through that kind of commercial music, which is why really you should choose a business account and only have that limited access. But if you really want the popular music, you can choose a creator account. It does mean that you won't be able to do kind of any use any third-party tools to like extra analytics or any scheduling through third-party tools. It also means that Instagram may well suss you out and remove the music option from you still. And there is another way around it. So you can choose, if you're desperate for the popular music, you can choose to be a business and choose your category as an entrepreneur. And that currently is a kind of a workaround to give you popular music. But as anything, Instagram isn't stupid, and they will eventually clock onto these things and probably still remove the music from you. So it's not something I encourage you to do, but I am saying that if you really want access to popular music and you want to, be a business, that's currently one workaround for that option as well. Okay, my second tip is to make sure that you have a really strong profile. So your profile is basically what people who are perhaps searching for you or come across you will visit. So it's the profile photo, the bio, and what we would call your grid, with your posts appearing as little squares. And the reason you want to really make sure your profile is optimized is that it is there to change a visitor to a follower, and that will happen in seconds. People will make a very quick decision based on the information that you provide them with, whether to follow you or not. And you're not trying to convert everybody who visits you into a follower. You're trying to make sure you convert the right people. So you have to be really clear in your profile about who you are, what you do, and who you do that for, who your target audience actually is, and then encourage the right audience to connect with you, and also to make sure that you have a call to action in there, so that once people visit your profile, they think about not only following, hopefully, if they're the right people, but also doing something with you. So that might be, if you're like perhaps a shop with lots of products, it might be shopping the feed, it might be signing up for a newsletter, it might just be clicking the link to discover other things. If you're trying to push a newsletter or a workshop or whatever, it might be, buy the ticket, sign up or whatever, but some kind of strong call to action. And there are various places available in your profile that will help you do all these things. So I'm going to run through the top 4 with you. So the first one is your profile photo. This is a real chance as a small business in particular to connect. Having your face there is a really powerful thing to do as a small business, because people buy from people. I completely also understand why businesses like to use their logo, but if you feel like actually I'm hiding behind my logo, it is time to step out from behind your logo and put yourself there. If there are ways to amalgamate and combine yourself and your logo too, I've had people very successfully do that. But really, if you are very much the face of your business and you think actually people would be able to connect with me much more clearly if I'm there, you want to have your visual image of your face actually there. The next section is your bio. This is, some people will go to the bio and the copy first, and some people will go to the visuals first. So you have to cater for both parties, but your bio this is the connection part, and this is the who I am, the what I do, and who I do it for part. So this is where it needs to be really clear in the way it's written, who your target audience is. So for example, if you are a catering company, and you actually do postal service, it's really important in there that you make it clear that you do postal orders. Otherwise people might go, well, actually it's a catering company and they only go local. But if they can do a postal service, then I might be more inclined to follow if they were perhaps out of my area of being able to pick up a delivery, or receive a delivery, for example. So be really clear there about who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. And you want to make sure you've got some kind of personality in there wherever possible, so that again we feel we can connect with you, and also that your call to action in there somewhere too. So mine is just click the link to find out more. Your other point in your profile, you want to consider your story highlights, because this provides an opportunity for you to say all the things you can't do in your bio because you only have 150 characters. So some businesses might choose to use them as resources. Some might choose to show their latest products off, or whatever it might be. As an absolute minimum, as a business, you want kind of like a behind the scenes, so we can get to know you and connect with you more. We want a review section to try and make us be able to browse through and hear the good things others say about you. And you want obviously kind of like a services or a product section at the very minimum. But people will use this as another point to find out more about you too. And then you've also got obviously your grid. And the saying with your grid is you're only as good as your last 9, because people in seconds don't have time to scroll that much further through your grid than the top 9 to 12 posts. So visually, those posts have to tell us who you are, what you do, and ideally kind of speak to the right target audience. And it needs to look like a business account. So if you as a business have got like holiday snaps in there, that's not really going to immediately visually tell us that you are a business and what you do. Okay, so there is a lot more detail I can provide for your profile, but those are my 4 kind of key areas that you need to focus on. Okay, tip number 3 is understand all the different places on Instagram where you can put content, because there are currently 5. So you can put your content on your grid, and I've chosen this icon, which is like the billboard, because your grid, as I've just sort of said with your profile, that's your permanent good stuff. That's your highlight reel, if you like. That's your advertising hoarding. And I put an icon of a video in there because there's been a recent change where IGTV, which was Instagram's answer to YouTube and long form video, has now kind of combined with grid posts, so that video now kind of belongs when we talk about grid posts as well. So that your grid posts, your scrollable grid posts that we will quickly flick through as a visitor, are your permanent sort of advertising hoarding, if you like. Then you've got stories. This is the icon of somebody vlogging, because that is really what stories are like. Stories are a really powerful space for small businesses to take people behind the scenes, to let their followers in on what they're up to, what they're thinking, to ask their followers for their feedback and advice and ideas. And we'll be looking a little bit more in depth about stories in one tip coming up soon. But stories are a really powerful area for small businesses. It's very much like a VIP area. It is very much designed just for your followers. So you'll probably find that reach might feel really small in comparison to like grid posts, for example, or reels, but actually the engagement will be far higher and far more valuable, which is really important. Then you've got live. Going live is basically the most real-time connection you can have with your audience of followers, because there's no rehearsals. You can't, you don't know what's going to come up. It is just kind of as it happens. There is an opportunity now to help spread your reach in live by going live with up to 3 other people too. But going live is, it is, as I just said, it's the most real time, because it's happening now, way to connect with your followers. Then you've got reels. I use the icon of like a playground for reels, because reels they're a place to be creative, to have fun, to be entertaining, and to hang out with your followers, if you like. But also currently, it's very much a space to hang out and meet new people as well. Reels generally feels like it attracts not just your followers, but easily reaches a new audience too. And then you have guides. Instagram hasn't done much with guides, and Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, the other day was asked a question about them, and he said, no, we're not really going to work on them. But I think guides are a really nice sort of part of Instagram, because what they ultimately do is they kind of act like a bit like a brochure, a bit like a guidebook. But what's the nice thing is you haven't really got to create anything new, because they pull together content from elsewhere, either your own or other people's, and put them together in like a thematic guidebook, if you like. So they're a really nice sort of space, but I think they're really underutilized and underplayed by Instagram right now. Okay, tip number 4 might sound a bit of a weird one, but your Instagram mindset is really important, especially right now. So currently there is a lot of talk, and I've noticed it too on my account, and there's a lot of really experienced social media managers in the various groups talking about this, but there is a very real drop in reach and engagement on Instagram generally. Story views have been erratic for about the last year. So it can feel very much like a bit of a tougher space to that which we've been used to, especially from, like, if I think back 2 years ago, it was a really easy space to get reach and engagement on, and it's definitely tougher now. So you're having a healthy Instagram mindset is really important to help you not get overwhelmed or despondent. So my first point and tip to you is don't compare yourself to other people, and also yourself to your content, like say a year ago, because Instagram is a completely different place. So when you feel a shift, something has changed in Instagram, don't keep comparing yourself to the content before that shift happened, because, you know, if I look at my reach this time last year, it's very different to my reach now. And if I kept comparing that, I'd probably feel really a bit miserable about it. So you have to compare it with what's happening right now. Keep an eye on the bigger picture. So if one post does really badly, you know, don't dwell on that. And we as humans and our negativity bias will do, but try not to. So look at your content over a month, okay, and not just your posts. You've got stories, you've got reels, you've got a guide you could have used, you've got all sorts of different pieces of content. So when you go into those nice new analytics that Instagram has given you, and you might go back to the last 30 days, you'll probably be surprised by actually how many people you have reached or how many people have engaged through all the different things that you are doing. So don't just dwell on that one post that did really badly. Another thing as well, don't get sucked in by the vanity metrics, and Instagram pushes them on us all the time in our notifications. They tell us all the time who's liked a post, who's followed us, you know, who's commented, and the comment is only a worthy comment if it's actually quality, because somebody giving us a thumbs up isn't really a great piece of, a great comment to go on. But they don't really tell us when people save our content, and we don't know now anymore if people share our content very easily. And those are the more key kind of metrics that tell us something. So it's very easy to just get drawn into all this, I've got less likes or whatever it might be, but the vanity metrics don't really tell us much. It's quality engagement over quantity as much as possible. And actually I read something from a guy called Jay Akuzo the other day, he kind of summed up, I think, I'm going to read it to you, how we get really hung up on these vanity metrics, but actually it's not the right thing to do. He said, we overvalue one small piece of the relationship, like a like, initial interest or reach, and these become proxies for what we really want, which is affinity and resonance. So try to learn to be memorable rather than focus on being visible everywhere. So I think that's really important, to actually focus on the quality of what's coming back rather than all the vanity metrics that Instagram tries to push on us all the time. And also remember that higher numbers don't necessarily mean things are going to be amazing. So you can get a really high number of likes, doesn't mean it's going to equate to sales. You might have a lot of followers. It doesn't again mean that you are somebody's any more successful than you at all. But we as humans, we always want more. We want to be more popular. We want more reach or whatever. But without, if that more doesn't actually then bring us anything back in, it's not really doing anything. So don't feel that you have to always be striving for huge reach or huge followers or whatever it might be. There are a lot of accounts out there with really small but really engaged following who are really successful. So try not to get sucked into that more and big is better kind of scenario. And the other thing that's really important to be aware of, and again, we don't, Instagram can't tell us this, is there's a lot of passive engagers, people who silently engage, and Instagram can see that, but we can't. So what I'm talking about here is people who press more to read all your caption, but they might never like or comment. Somebody who sends a piece of content to a friend, by DM, but you don't know that. And Instagram can tell, but we can't. Instagram can tell somebody's pressed more. We can't. They don't tell us. Somebody, for example, who might have searched for your profile, that is a type of silent engagement, but we don't know about that. And all that is really important. That is a really, that's actually probably more valuable than just somebody liking our post, but we don't know about that because Instagram doesn't tell us. It can see it, but we can't. And there'll be people who silently and passively engage with all of your content. And there'll even be people who don't follow you, but quite regularly might like your content as well. And you're like, how do they find us? So, understanding that there is a lot going on in the background that we're not privy to from people who are interested in us and will eventually buy from us is really important with your mindset as well. I mean, I often have people who go, oh, I'd like to book a session. I've been looking at your stuff for several months. And I'm like, who are you? You've never liked, you've never engaged in my story, but they are there and they are watching. So they are what we call passively engaging. And the other thing that's really important as well, as much as I love Instagram, is not to put all your eggs into one basket, because, this will help your mindset as well, is to make sure that as part of your marketing picture, you might be on another social media platform, you might have a mailer, you need a website, you'll do networking. So don't feel like Instagram is your be all and end all, and it really shouldn't be, because you need to make sure you've got other kind of safety channels available to you as well. So that will help your mindset when it feels like things are tough on Instagram, to go, actually, I've got this and this that I can focus on as well too. So next tip, and I've already sort of mentioned this, is to use stories. Stories have gone a bit quiet on Instagram until recently, and by quiet I mean there weren't many major updates. Instagram didn't feel like they were working on them, having had a massive flurry a couple of years when they first came out of developing them, but things are changing again slightly on them. We've had new stickers recently, and what I would say is that all the things that I have kind of heard and read coming from Instagram recently, they are focusing once again, or there's a lot of talk of them focusing on reels and stories. So make sure as a small business you're using stories. The reason being is that, first of all, stories are really simple. You haven't got to overthink them. They don't need polishing like grid posts. They don't need captions. You don't need to over video and produce some kind of amazing video. They are just really meant to press the button and put your content out there. So it's a really easy and very real way for you to keep fresh content going through the day for your followers. And again, as mentioned earlier, story highlights are really important for your profile, but if you're not creating stories, you can't populate your story highlights too. The other reason that stories is great is there's lots of video options. Stories make video easy. And again, a tip coming up is that you need to start leaning into video if you haven't already. And stories make that really easy to do. It's very simple to press the button and record. You can do boomerangs. There are filters that turn sort of pictures into videos. You can put a static image out and add a moving GIF and change it into a video that sort of like attracts attention. So there's lots of ways to use video in stories. The other really good thing about stories is that they are designed for engagement. As I already mentioned earlier, you'll probably find engagement from stories is really high, but reach feels much lower because obviously it's just for a core number of followers. On average, I think it's 6% of your followers are likely to watch your stories. But the stories are designed to encourage engagement, not only because they're such a private area in terms of responding, but because you as a business have access to lots and lots of stickers that you can use, which I'll show you in a minute, which help encourage people to get involved. And as I've mentioned, if you use stories correctly, you will be able to turn your stories into like a VIP area, kind of like an access area for your followers only, to really let them into your insights, into your day, your thinking, what you're up to, your plans, your frustrations, etc. You will be able to connect really, really powerfully with your followers and build a real community and real relationships with them. But beyond that, if you use your stories in the way that you should do, with the stickers as well, you can actually use your stories to increase business and generate leads too pretty easily. So in terms of the magic button, as I call it, this is the area where your stickers lie. So this is your magic button. I'm going to focus and just run you through very quickly the key stickers that will help you with engagement. And there are now 6 of them. So on the left hand side, or on the middle one actually, sorry, in the middle screen, you have 3 stickers, and then in the right hand screen you've got 3 stickers as well. So I'm just going to run quickly through these. So in the middle screen, you've got polls, which is just kind of like, it's a 2 answer option. You can change the text, you can use emojis, you can get people to vote on really simple things like, should I have chocolate or cake with my cup of tea this afternoon, or help you with business decisions like, should I stock, I saw somebody the other week saying, should I stock my gift tags in bulk, or should I sell them singly? What would you like to do? And then the next day she was acting on the advice that she'd received, because actually people have said, I'd actually like to be able to buy your gift tags singly and not keep them in the bulk packets. So she was like, right, I'm going to update my website for you. So she used her audience to help her understand what they wanted from her. Then you've got the question sticker, which is designed for more in-depth responses, and you can question your audience or you can invite them to question you. And the great thing about this sticker as well is that you can then respond to whatever comes in from that question sticker, either publicly in another story for everyone to see, or you can respond privately via messaging within stories too. And that's the great thing about these stickers as well, is that you can see exactly who votes for what, who presses what, and respond to them, but no one else can. So stories is a massively private space, which is another reason why people tend to engage in stories as well. And then you've got the emoji slider at the bottom, the middle one, where people will slide according to how strong they feel, and you can change the emoji. On the right hand side, at the top, you've got the newest sticker. So this one came out in the last few weeks, and it's called the Add Yours sticker. And what it does, in fact, it's probably easier if you are really interested in how it works to go and have a look at my profile at the end, because I've written a big post about the different ways you can use this sticker as a business. And you can use it to attract your target audience, and you can use it as well to kind of promote your business. And the beauty is as well is that you can add yours to other people's sort of prompt stickers, if you like, that you might come across in stories too. And what it does is it creates this big visual chain of stories all under this kind of sticker that you can watch if you want to. So you might have come across some recently. There was like a fill your Christmas stocking, kind of like Christmas stocking fillers for under £15, I think it was. And I could tap through and find all these small businesses with stocking fillers under £15, which I could then go and buy if I wanted to. So, it's a great way to get involved yourself or create your own sticker too. Then you have the quiz sticker, which allows you up to 4 answers, a minimum of 2. It's like multiple choice, and straight away if you get it right or wrong. So if you're right, you get a confetti shower. If you're wrong, the sticker kind of judges and tells you the right answer. And if you put the quiz out, can see who's chosen what answers and things like that as well. And then the countdown sticker obviously will only be suitable for certain occasions, so maybe counting down to the end of a sale, the start of a sale, discount, Christmas, whatever it might be. But the beauty of all these stickers is, as I said, is that you can access who's got involved with them, what they voted for, what they've chosen, what they've asked, and you can message them directly on the back of that as well. So if you use them properly to help kind of business decisions and that, and then action them, you can let people who perhaps suggested that they might be interested in a product that you're stocking, for example, know when that product is out. So you've potentially got there a number of hot leads of people who actually say that they're interested in this, that you can then go and have a one-to-one conversation with. So really, really powerful area to utilize is your stories and those stickers. And then my other tip is that you need to utilize your DMs, your direct messages. I honestly think this is the most underused but powerful area that's for small businesses. The best thing about your direct messages is you haven't got to create any piece of content at all. There's no algorithm to feel that you might be doing battle with as to whether somebody will or won't see this message, because it is totally private and it goes straight into their inbox. And rather than trying to speak to everyone with your content, in your DMs, you're speaking one-on-one with somebody and no one else can see it. So, your DMs are a really powerful area to utilize as best you can. And because of that, it's very much like having a conversation with somebody in your DMs. So it's great for building relationships. And as I've already said, stories are the best area to help you drive DM action, if you like. And if you use your DMs, really well, you can have such a one-to-one conversation where it's tailored completely for what somebody needs or their issue or what they're asking you about. that you can actually very quickly take them through the next stage of a buyer journey, and maybe right through to actually, well, I will purchase that, you've answered my questions, I'm sold, thank you, sent me a photo of it in my DM, and that's it, I'm happy with that, I'm going to go and buy or book or whatever it might be. So utilize your DMs as much as possible. And rather than just waiting for the DMs to come into you, because obviously, originally they're kind of designed for that customer support, for us to DM somebody if we have a question, go and be proactive and encourage people into your private inbox. And there are two ways in particular that you can do this. So when somebody makes a comment on your post, you actually have the opportunity to message them, to reply to them in that private space. So if it feels right to do that, okay? So for example, if I wanted to reply to Kez here, what I wouldn't do is leave it blank. I would reply so that publicly people could see that I don't just leave people hanging and I don't reply. So I would reply to her and go, actually, I'll message you about this. And then I press that message button. And what it does in her DM is my response obviously goes through as a message, and it says, I've messaged you on the back of your comment on my post. Okay, so Instagram automatically puts that out. So you can immediately, if somebody's kind of like asked a query kind of question, rather than just kind of, sometimes if you answer just publicly, you don't necessarily have that opportunity to follow it up. Whereas if you pull them into your private space, into your DMs, and it's just between you and them, you can exactly answer what they need, and then probably be more inclined to respond to you as well. And the other way to be proactive is to welcome your new followers. This is something that is really powerful. You can message, even private accounts, you can send a direct message to somebody, and it's really nice to say, thank you for following me. I often ask when I do it, how did you hear about me? Because it's nice to know how people find you. And again, if you ask a question, it's kind of encouraging them to respond back. And I just say, look, if you've got any questions, please just ask. And the number of times that I have done that, and then somebody's made an inquiry and sort of said, oh, can you tell me a bit more about what you do? And then maybe 3 or 4 messages later have actually then gone on to book a power hour or workshop or whatever, have been huge. And I've not had to create any content to do that. I've just literally been a human being and had a conversation. So be proactive in encouraging people into your private messaging space, because they are much more inclined to talk, to ask questions there than publicly on just your content. And the other beauty of your DMs is you've got so much opportunity to respond to them and inject personality, because you can upload photos from your camera roll or video, or take one live. So if they're like, oh, could you show me the color of that product, in a bit more detail or whatever it might be, you can do that exactly within that space. You can send gifts if you want to. You can use the saved replies, so that welcome message can go as a saved reply. So you just kind of tap it, put somebody's name in and send it. It's really easy. But the best bit is the voice messaging function, because first of all, you haven't got to type anything out. So it saves you a whole heap of time to voice message somebody. And the other thing is that people can hear you. So this is another connection point. So, they've seen your face, hopefully on your profile grid or on your profile image, profile photo on your account, and here they can hear your voice. So sometimes it's really important to hear your voice if there's a need to understand somebody's tone, if there's a bit of an issue going on. But even so, it's just a really nice opportunity for them to hear you, and just to feel that more connected to you as well. So use that voice messaging, use your DMs. Honestly, it's a really powerful area that I think is hugely underutilized by small businesses. Okay, next tip, quality engagement. I've already touched on this, but quality engagement is key, okay? Not quantity, quality. So you can encourage your engagement, obviously, by your content that you put out, your grid posts, your reels, and especially your stories. You can use carousel posts, which are designed for engagement, because those are the ones that swipe through. So with a carousel post, if you say put a carousel post out, and I log on to Instagram and I'm following you, and I kind of see it in my feed but don't respond to it, when I log on later, I'll probably be showing that post again, but rather than show me the first image, I'll be showing the second image. So it kind of, carousel posts are designed to give you as much opportunity for engagement as possible. So, you can encourage the content, encourage engagement on your content, but again, you need to proactively go out and engage with people. Because again, you don't have to create any content with this. There's no algorithm hiding your comments that you might make to them. And actually, if you do your quality, if you do your quality engagement right, it can be far more beneficial than churning out lots and lots of content. So by going proactively out, what I mean is searching on hashtags, searching on locations, hanging out on accounts where you know lots of your target audience might be, whether that's kind of like an influential account locally, if you're very much a local business, or where if it's like, say for example, if you can, you know, go across the whole UK, it might be where you know that your audience tend to, you know, gravitate towards a few accounts and they have quite a few, you know, conversations and comments to make, and you can reply to people. And again, what you're doing here is you're finding content to respond to. So you also want to do it with people who follow you and who you follow too. And you can respond on posts, on reels, again on stories. And what we're talking about here is not just like a thumbs up, but actually, you know, engagement on content that will drive conversations, that will do what we would do in day-to-day life if somebody walked into our shop or came to our stall or phoned us on the telephone, is that we would have quality conversations. We would ask questions, we would try to develop relationships. So it's really important to not only encourage quality engagement in, but also to go and seek it ourselves again, because, you know, no need to create content, no need to try and overcome an algorithm, because if you reply to somebody, they'll get that notification. And if it's a good quality piece of, you know, comments, for example, like a really good question that you've asked, they're going to probably respond to you as well and strike up that relationship too. So make sure that you build in to your kind of plans and strategies to how you're going to use Instagram time to proactively engage, whether that's run searches, hang out on other people's accounts, or just go through who's following you and engage with some of their content too. Okay, tip 8, lean into video. I bet some of you are already cringing at the thought of this, because I know it is not everybody's favorite thing to do, but social media managers like myself have since 2017, if not before, been talking about the importance of video. So we're 2021 now. It really is time, if you haven't, that you need to lean into video. And I say that too on Instagram, because Instagram have made it really clear that demand for video is high, and they are giving us all the tools that they possibly can to help us create the video that people want. And I know it feels really strange if you've been on Instagram for a long time to suddenly have what was like such a static visual sharing platform, all these video options, but you do need to try and embrace them as much as possible, because Instagram is, you know, they've done the research, they're telling us this is what people are consuming, this is what people want to see, so here are the tools to help you. It doesn't mean that you can't post static images anymore, but it does mean that if that's all you do, you're probably going to find the Instagram space a little bit harder. But it doesn't again mean that you need to put video on all the different areas that are available to you. You need to find the ones that your audience respond to, and also that feel natural to you. So you have 4 places to basically get involved with video on Instagram. So the latest update is Instagram video, which basically means IGTV has been amalgamated with grid posts, if you like, and you can now just post video up to 1 hour just as a post. So before it was like IGTV had to be long form video and a post had to be just 60 seconds. Now it's in one, and it comes under a tab called Instagram video rather than having a separate IGTV tab. So that's the most recent change. You've also got Reels, which are completely video orientated. I've already talked about video options in stories. You can go live and also go live with people. So, you know, video is in demand, and there are lots of opportunities to lean into video on Instagram. So I'm just going to run through some of the main features of the different video options for you. So on your grid, which again is your kind of billboard, it's there for the good stuff, you can put video up to 1 hour maximum. It can be square, it can be portrait, it can be landscape. Obviously, portrait takes up more space in the newsfeed because it's that 4:5 ratio. Landscape will be much more thin and stuff as well. Square is obviously nice 1:1 ratio. It is permanent. Obviously, the longer format of up to an hour is ideal for any kind of real in-depth stuff. But in all honesty, the chances of somebody watching a whole hour video on Instagram are pretty slim, if I'm honest. But it does allow you the opportunity to go for longer video if you wanted to. On stories, you've got 50-second segments that can go to a minute maximum. There is currently a test for some people where you can actually have a 60-second segment, allowing you not to sort of like have to flip through lots of stories, just to be able to watch it in its entirety as such, but that's currently a test. So for most of us, it's 15-second segments up to 1 minute max at the moment. Stories are the 9:16 format, so that's basically, you know, your vertical mobile phone screen. It is ephemeral, meaning it does disappear after 24 hours unless you put it in your story highlights. But the beauty of stories is that they are vlog-like. It's press the button, it's just let's get this content out there, so you don't have to polish it up like the grid would expect to be, because obviously you might have visitors that go to your grid and, you know, if they want to see the good stuff, if you like. So as I've already said, stories is very much for your followers. It's for you to build connections with them, to make them feel valued, for you to kind of take them into your world, and so they can see what is really going on behind the scenes. Then you have live. You can go live for up to 4 hours. Good luck if you choose to do that, all I can say. Again, live is the 9:16 format to the vertical phone screen. Live can be permanent because you can choose to share it to your grid after going live. The best thing about live now, because if you go live on your own, your audience will be quite small. But if you go live with other people, and you can go live for up to 3 other people, you'll find, first of all, the viewer numbers are higher. But also, if you go live with somebody else, their audience, their followers get notified that they are going live with you. So it's an opportunity for you to get extra reach. So, you know, going live with the right kind of people is can be really helpful to help you grow your audience, if that's what you're looking for. And as I've already mentioned, the beauty of live is that it is so real time. People can feel really connected with you because, you know, there's no rehearsals, you don't know what's coming up. So it's a great way to potentially make your audience sort of really feel like a part of your world then and there. And then you've got reels. Reels are up to 60 seconds, but for most research so far, the shorter the reel, all the shorter reels tend to perform better. So 60 seconds came in when reel advertising became a thing. But 60 seconds can be utilised really well if you have like a longer tutorial or tip-based reel you want to do. Again, it's the 9:16, the vertical mobile screen format. Reels, unlike stories, are permanent. So stories will give you the sort of like intimacy and they'll disappear. With reels, they're not such an intimate space because you're not just speaking to your followers, and also they are permanent. But they are what we call bite-sized, snackable, entertaining fun. And currently, they are great for reaching new audiences. So if that's what you're looking for as well, Reels is definitely something to utilise. But you have to kind of know what you're doing on Reels, because although they're short to watch, they can take a long time to actually put together. Okay, so my next tip is to understand keyword search and how hashtags are now sort of like changing and having a dual function. The keyword search came in about this time last year, when for a lot of people hashtags stopped performing in terms of reach like they had previously. But it's only recently that Instagram has kind of come out and spoken about how keyword search is going to become a thing. And they themselves have said, you know, it's very much a work in progress. We are working on how this functionality is going to work. But before keyword search, you could only search for a specific account by hashtags or by places, by geotagged posts. Now you can also search by keywords. And what they've said is that the way content might be surfaced in a keyword search will depend on the keywords that are in your captions, the information that is in your bio, which is why using entrepreneur might not always be the best thing. To, you know, I remember at the beginning I talked about using entrepreneur to get the popular music. Might not be the best thing if you're trying to appear in the right search. And also they've said that actually your hashtags will now also act like keywords, but only if they're in the captions, not if they're in the comments. So what you have now with hashtags is that I can go and search on hashtags and they'll appear, you know, posts will appear in a hashtag search, but also if I search on keywords, the hashtags that you use may or may not, depending on which ones you use, allow you to appear in a keyword search too. So hashtags now have this dual function. So it's really important. I mean, if you've ever worked with me in the past, you'll know that from 2019, I've always said quality hashtags over quantity is really, really important. But now more than ever, because hashtags are feeding into this keyword search, it is really important to make sure you're choosing your hashtags really carefully. So you want to make sure that your hashtags are relevant to your post, to your niche, and to your target audience too, to what they're likely to be searching on. Because if you're using a mishmash or trying to go for like really super popular ones all the time, Instagram isn't really going to know where to surface you in what search, because it's just not going to be able to read the right ones, if that makes sense. So really need to try and focus as much as possible on making sure that your hashtags are the right ones that will help you get surfaced in either a hashtag search or now a keyword search. I mean, the one thing I'd say here is don't get too confused and too bogged down with this keyword search. It is still being worked on, and this is kind of good practice to start getting used to when you use your hashtags, is to think about which ones would probably help me be surfaced in the right keyword search. And also to understand that if your caption actually has lots of keywords in it, they can act for the keyword search less than the hashtag. So it's a bit confusing, I know. The one thing I would say with hashtags, regardless of whether we are talking about them as a hashtag search or to help you get in a keyword search, is to, as much as possible, avoid the really super popular ones. So I'm talking about ones that are like over 1 million here, because the problem with those is that as soon as you've posted your content, generally the chances of anybody finding you in a hashtag search, because people post to that super popular one every few seconds, is really, really slim. And currently as well, there's a lot of like bot comments coming back, so they haven't been around for a while, but you put something out, and if you use a really popular hashtag, there's like automated bots that are reading those, and as soon as they notice that you put a hashtag, this automated comment like share this on whatever account pops up, and it's really annoying, and that's because you're using hashtags that are moving too quickly. So you want to have sort of a range of hashtags that are going to help surface you in a popular search, but one that's not too popular that you'll just disappear. And you want hashtags as well that move much more slowly, that are probably searched on by a much smaller community, but it means that perhaps if somebody runs that search in 3 weeks, because it's a slower moving one, you'll be in that top 9 or top 12. So actually your content will be given far longer life too. And the other thing I'll say about hashtags, because people get so bogged down in them, is that your hashtags actually won't necessarily bring you that much back. Even if you've got huge reach through hashtags, again, it's not always about chasing that huge number of reach. It's about reaching the right people that you resonate with, that will then actually take action. And hashtags will never replace terrible content. So you can have an amazing list of hashtags, but if your content is still really bad, then actually you're not going to get much back from that piece of content as well. So hashtags are one, people get so bogged down in them, but they're one small part of a much bigger picture of all the things that will help you be successful on Insta. So don't sweat them too much either. And then my final tip for you is to show yourself. And again, I expect some people here are like, oh my God, I don't want to do this, don't want to do video. But people buy from people, as I've already mentioned earlier. And I think it's a real advantage as a small business to be able to very easily present ourselves, because obviously if you're a big company, you've got so many people in a team, it's like, well, how do we really represent ourselves? Who do we choose to be the face of the business? But when it is just you, just take advantage of that, because you will answer as you want to. If a question comes in, you will talk and represent yourself as you want to. It's not like somebody has to learn to represent you, because you are the face of the business. So take advantage of that as well. And you've got lots of different places you can show up as well. You can show, a face on the grid, a nice static polished photo. Some of you might feel far more comfortable there than appearing on stories, but you can speak to camera on stories. You can put yourself in a reel. If you're really brave, you can go live as well. I do encourage you to speak to camera on stories or go live or wherever it might be. And I know that fills a lot of people with fear, because I run workshops all the time and I talk about this, and I can always see people going, no, I can't do it. But the reason that it's so powerful to speak to camera is because it's like this scenario. Hopefully you probably feel like I'm there in the room with you. And when somebody is actually on your phone, it feels like there's a whole psychological thing behind it. It feels like you've let them into your personal space. So you immediately feel closer to them. It feels like you're taking a video call from them. So you feel far more connected to somebody who's actually speaking to you on camera. even though obviously they're speaking to all their followers, it feels very much like they're speaking to you, which is also really important, that if you do a piece to camera, don't go, hi Insta family, or hi guys, because you're not speaking to all your followers behind this mobile phone, you're speaking to one person. So it's like, how are you today, rather than hi guys, how are you all? Okay, that's another really important sort of little tip there too. So do show up and speak to camera as much as possible, because the chances are, if you're not, your competitor may well start doing it. And I have had somebody sent me a message going, you said I should do that. Well, my competitor did it, and actually they've taken some of my orders away from me. So it does matter showing up on camera. So as much as possible, try to speak to camera. If you really can't, if it's something you really struggle with, I do have a list of sort of ideas to help you overcome it and ways to increase your confidence. So do DM me if you'd like that. But also, if you really can't, make sure you at least show up in static images. You can put a picture of yourself on your stories. You can put a picture of yourself on the grid. And there are ways to appear without appearing if you want to sort of like ease yourself in gently. So, for example, you can do a hyperlapse video from a distance. So you're kind of there, but you're not right on the camera. And when it's so hyperlapsed up, people can't notice the finer things that you probably panic and worry about. You can appear without appearing by talking behind camera and demonstrating something in front, so people can hear you, maybe see your hands doing something. There are lots of filters on stories if you do think, I want to speak to camera, but I kind of need to feel like there's something that's a bit covering me almost. There's lots of silly filters that if you want to, you can use to kind of hide behind, just to ease yourself in. You can do sort of like images where there's just like your hands, for example, so you're kind of there but not there, if that makes sense. So there are lots of ways to appear without appearing. Another one that sometimes people like to do is like half a face. So you're sort of half there, but rather than full of you. So, there are ways to feel like you're showing up without doing the full shebang speaking to camera, if that's really not for you. But I do encourage you as much as possible to embrace that whole speak to camera thing on Instagram. Okay, that's the end of my top tips. We've actually got 20 minutes now for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. Let me just, I can't see anything on chat, so maybe nobody put any questions in chat. So if you have any questions, please wave at me now and I'll ask you to unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, Jade, I can see you waving. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi. So I wrote down a question because I knew I'd forget it. The new sticker where you can write a prompt?
Yeah.
You said that you could search through that sticker for gifts under £15. How do you find all the stickers that have been created?
You can't find them, unfortunately. Somebody else asked this question. I think it'd be a really nice thing sort of like to be able to have a look at the ones that maybe your followers are currently involved with, but you can't. You can only stumble across it by watching other people's stories currently, or create your own. And then obviously when you create your own, you can go through and see who's responded and what's under that kind of sticker as such. But otherwise you can't just search for all the different active ones at the moment.
So if someone wants to do that on their story, you have to click on it there and then. Do you just click on the sticker and then that takes you to the page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right,
because it says, so if you want to get involved, or if you come across a sticker in someone's story and you think I want to get involved, it will say add yours at the bottom of the sticker. So it will have the prompt at the top and it say add yours, and you tap add yours, and then it just kind of goes into your story camera. The sticker's already there for you, and then you just either upload from your camera roll or take a story live then and there, and then you can resize the sticker and put it where you want and then put it out as your story.
Okay then.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else yet? Sarah, I can see you waving.
Hello, thank you. That was really useful. I wanted to ask about the reels when you collaborate with somebody. So you do a reel with somebody else, and then I see that you can tag them and then you add a collaborator. Do you have to both post it, or one person posts it?
Okay, so you would want to use the collaborator option if ideally if both of you want it to appear on each other's feeds and within each other's reels, because otherwise it makes sense just to sort of tag other people who might appear. They don't have to accept that, so you can still post either a collaborated post or a collaborated reel, and they can choose to ignore the sort of invite to collaborate with. But obviously if they accept it, then you kind of share all the engagement and reach that kind of comes in. So they don't have to accept it, and you could just choose to tag them as well. Does that make sense?
I think so. So we both created it together and we put it together. But so then if one of us just posts it and the other one just accepts it, that's all we have to do.
Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
will appear on both of your feeds.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's great.
No problem. Any other questions? Wave at me. I'm just going through. You've got lots of opportunity to utilise and ask questions, so please do. You're all very quiet. Oh, Sarah again. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. You know, when you do a video and you get auto captions, is there anything that you would recommend using?
Well, Instagram actually has an auto captions function for video, which is kind of, it used to be really bad, if I'm honest. It never worked for me, but since the change where they brought Instagram in with grid post video, you now need to switch it on in the advanced settings within the post when you post it. I think I have to remember this one, but actually their auto captions isn't too bad. It's not amazing, but it isn't too bad. If you want to be really precise with your captioning, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I do get a bit kind of like annoyed when their auto captions aren't 100% correct. So if I wanted to make sure, because it was going to be a really polished piece that's for the grid, I would probably use some other kind of sort of like tool. And the one that I really rate is one called Quick, which is Quiccc, I think it is. It's only a web-based tool, it's not an app. And they have either monthly packages, or you can pay by certain minutes. So you can buy like certain minutes of time to caption. And honestly, it's probably the most accurate and easiest captioning tool that I've come across so far. And I also like the fact that I'm not tied into a big monthly sort of subscription, when actually I might only use it for a couple of minutes each month. So I really rate Quick as a captioning tool. But obviously Instagram does have it built in if you don't want to pay for anything.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Please ask or wave. Rhiannon.
Thanks, Pippa. I was just wondering about hashtags. I know not to go too deep into them, but I know when I look at them on each post, I can see how much reach I've got from hashtags generally. But is there a way of drilling down further into that in terms of looking at which ones are working for you and which ones aren't?
I mean, Instagram doesn't really tell you that. There's been a lot of like tests where some people have access to, like, you know, they'll tell you the top 3 performing. You would probably want to, if you really want to know, you probably want to pay for some kind of tool that can do that for you. There is another workaround, and where I've seen people talk about this, where you pretend that you're going to boost the post and you get to a certain stage, and I can't remember how far you go actually, and then you say, no, actually, I'm not going to boost it, but it will then give you the performing hashtags, which hashtags have driven more action so far on that post. Again, I'm not a fan of like almost hack. It's not really a hack, but it's almost, you know, I'm going to boost this, but I'm not kind of thing. I'm not a fan of trying to sort of like trick Instagram, if that makes sense. But that is one way if you do want to sort of like have a look at. I wouldn't recommend doing it for every post, because I think Instagram will suddenly clock on to this. But and I presume it still works because that's been around for a while. But that is one way of doing it if you don't want to pay for some kind of tool that will help you work that out. I mean, I paid for later for a while to help me with the hashtag stuff, and I still didn't find it very useful, if I'm honest. So, you know, it just, yeah, either try it on I can send you the reel of somebody where they talk through how to do it if you want on Instagram, or try and find a tool that will help you with that.
Thank you.
That's all right. Any other questions? No? Just going to check on the screen. No, it's your last chance to ask any questions at all.
Pip, there's a question in the chat box.
Oh, is there? Oh, thank you. Oh, Jenny, are Insta going to update so captions can be used on IGTV? Well, there is no IGTV now, Jenny, although, do you still have the IGTV tab? Because I know some people do. You're nodding, yeah?
Yeah, we still got it at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so there are a few people who still have it, but in theory, you're going to lose that. It's going to go into Instagram video, and then in theory, you should have access to auto captions and IGTV now. But when I had IGTV, it just didn't work for me, but it now works. Now I've had that change. So
Okay.
in theory, you've either got it, that's right, or it's coming soon when you get moved over.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Jackie?
Can you hear me?
I can.
This is about hashtag as well, but it's more of a local question. I wondered, I remember seeing once before, I don't know if I was potentially following a hashtag, whether first of all that's still a thing that people do.
It is. Yeah.
It is. So for example, if I was following Hitchin or something, will something you post in a story or grid come up in that? How does that work?
Only grid posts. So currently only grid posts. So if that's a video that's on the grid, it will work. If it's a visual or carousel, it will work. So it's only grid posts. Hashtags in stories aren't really a thing anymore. So it used to be that you could use them in stories and possibly appear in a hashtag story. Doesn't work. They switched them off about a year ago, said that they would switch them back on, but they haven't. And that's the same for location. Location stories aren't a thing anymore either. So I think this add yours sticker is then latest way to help you get discovered in stories, because they've switched off the hashtag and location options in stories.
Oh, okay, great. That's really interesting. I didn't realise that. So that's good to know. Just don't waste your time putting them in there.
If you're gonna, you can still use them, but it's not going to really bring you anything back, and you've got the danger of people tapping it and then disappearing off your story. So my advice is, if you're going to use any hashtag in your story, use your own branded hashtag, because if somebody taps that, they're then going to go to the hashtag search, which has got all your own content, and then any user generated content where people have used that hashtag too.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Okay, any other update?
Sorry, is it a hashtag related question again? When I do a post, I know you said try and use hashtags that have been tagged less than 1 million times, but when say for instance, I use some that only had 20,000 tags, when I've used it once, when I go to then use it again, it won't tell me how many times it's been used. It'll just say recent. They're my recent hashtags. Is there any way to update it so that every post that you do, you can see how many?
Yeah, that is a pain in the bottom. You'd have to check on the web. So that's what I do. So if it doesn't tell me, if I really want to know and double check, I will just type it in on the web and then it will tell me.
What, do you just type in Google how many?
No, just go onto Instagram.com, as in like use Instagram in a web browser.
Oh, okay.
Put it in that way if you want to. It's a bit of a faff, but it's because you've kind of did it once or you follow it or whatever. It won't tell you. It just kind of, just doesn't give you that information.
Oh, that's annoying. All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, any others? Last chance. Chat box will wave at me. No, okay. Helen, do you want to finish off?
Unmute, there we go. Thank you very much everybody for coming, and thank you so much, Pip, for all those fabulous tips. I will be sending the recording through to everybody when we've got it, so might be Thursday, if not early next week, hopefully. Hopefully you've all enjoyed. We'll be putting more events on, and if there's anything we can do to support you and your business, please do contact us. You can follow us on Eventbrite at Ambition Broxbourne. But yeah, thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, as I said before, if you do finish and you think, actually, I do have a question, just find me on Instagram and send me a DM, and I will be more than happy to help you out. And thank you very much for your time today. Take care. Thank you. No, thanks for thumbs up, Julian. Thanks. Bye.